Hello everyone and welcome back to Boblin's Minecraft Let's Play series. You are watching Infinity Evolve Skyblock and this is episode 7 I guess. In today's episode I'm going to make the final steps that I need in order to progress to thermal expansion machines. With thermal expansion machines a whole lot opens up. I'll be able to get logistics pipes set up and running, which means all sorts of automated crafting. I'll probably start putting some things in their permanent places more than in temporary places. I will automate all of this ore production, which you can actually see I've expanded a bit already. I think I probably did have 2 sieves the last episode, but I didn't have this hammer in the middle. I just got tired of manually hammering ores repeatedly to get the bonuses from them. So I did set up a hammer here. Before I actually go into the first step of what we're going to do, I need to show a couple of small production things that I've set up. As I mentioned before, I was going to go ahead and automate the obsidian a little better so I didn't have to manually fill this barrel from a bucket. And I've done that now. There is an engine back here that's taking and pumping lava out of the crucible as it's made, and it's going into the barrel and it's making obsidian. I just set this up a little while ago. It's actually pretty slow making obsidian. It's made 24 so far, and you can see the percentage up the top of the screen ticks up pretty slowly, but it is making it. And I'm also capturing some of the lava in this tank because I do need to keep some lava on hand so that I can refuel the smeltery. The next thing over here that I wanted to show you was, not that I've been breeding crops, but I have. It was this piece over here. I am making soul sand now by using this particular setup. The barrel gets filled with water through the transfer node here and the usual pipe system that supplies water to the farms. And because the barrel is sitting next to mycelium, the water that's in it transforms into witch water. And if you run sand through witch water, you get soul sand out the other end. This is important because soul sand is how you get nether quartz. You can also get nether wart and gas tears through it, but the important one for my purpose at the moment is the nether quartz, because I need to have that for storage drawers to make a drawer controller. I did set up another platform here, built another platform. I'm not using it for a whole lot right now. I set up a squid tank that is much larger than necessary, so I do have some squid spawning. You can probably see one in there. It's very small. I set up a grassy area for animals to spawn. So far the only thing that has spawned is a cow. This is a deep ocean biome, so you wouldn't expect anything to spawn, but I think there's a mod in the pack that does make it so things spawn. You can also, through X-Compression, use these baits right here. So this one will cause cows to spawn. This one will cause ocelots to spawn. This one will cause pigs to spawn. And what you have to do is you have to put these down on the ground and move away from them. And there are certain environmental conditions for each one of them where you have to have some grass around and have some water around and have some saplings around. And if you do that, you can get a variety of different things to spawn. Now this squid one says it must be placed in water. The truth is, I think they all have to be placed in water. I think there's a bug where you have to place them all in water. What you do is you dig out a section of dirt that is 1 block wide and 2 blocks long, and you put water on one side of it, and then on the side of it that is flowing water rather than still water, you put the bait down at ground level there. And if you do that, then you will have a still water block next to your bait, which is sitting on the ground. This is not for the squid, this is for like cows or chickens. And if you've followed all the other environmental rules, you should be able to get something to spawn. It will tell you what the environmental rules are when you successfully place the bait down. if you're missing one of them. It'll say something like no saplings nearby. If you're successful, it will tell you that you have to move off a certain number of blocks, which is true. You've got to be probably at least 20 blocks away, something like that. If you do all that, then you'll get a spawn. I haven't done that yet, and I've definitely got lots of squid, and I've got one cow. When I played this before, I found that I didn't really need the baits because every time I would go to my witchery area, it would just be overrun with chickens and sheep and cows and horses and all that. It was really pretty annoying, to be honest. I would have to go and kill them all off to get them out of my way. But if you do need the baits, they are there. Alright, the thing I want to set up first today is, let's go look at what the progression really is. I've talked quite a bit about how the progression is sort of tiered and you've got to go through one thing to get to another. I haven't really explained what the progression really is in here. And you've already seen that I had to have forestry set up before I could make the BuildCraft assembly table, and I had to have the BuildCraft assembly table before I could make the chipsets that I needed to make industrial craft machines. The next piece that I would like to set up is thermal expansion, and all of the thermal expansion machines have this machine frame in the center of them. And this machine frame is made in the assembly table, which is totally unlike the way it is by default, and it requires a dense refined iron plate, which is why you have to have industrial craft first. It requires a tin gear, which is only made in the smeltery, I think, and that's why you have to have a smeltery first. It requires an iron chipset, which is a reason to have an assembly table first, but of course obviously if it's made in the assembly table you've got to have one anyway. It requires a basic circuit board, which is why you had to have the carpenter from forestry first. And the last thing that it requires is this crushed obsidian from Railcraft, which is made in the Railcraft crusher, which is what we're about to make in a minute. Before I make that, let me just go ahead and show what happens after thermal expansion, just in case you're curious about what the continuing progression is. The next thing that it moves on to is Ender IO. And for Ender IO, all the machines have this machine chassis as their core. To make this, you have to have not just the machine frame from thermal expansion, but you have to have some other items. The capacitor requires electron tubes from forestry again, and then the redstone chipset. That's not too bad, but you've got to have signalum for the capacitor, and you've got to have lumium for the machine chassis themselves. And in order to make these, if you go and look at how you do it, you get a lumium ingot from smelting lumium blend. Lumium blend is just these various pulverized powders here, which you could actually make using industrial craft machines. The gotcha is this energized glowstone bucket. You actually have to have a magma crucible and a fluid transposer. Maybe you don't have to have the fluid transposer, you could just click a bucket on a tank, but you've got to have the magma crucible to melt down the glowstone for this one. Similarly, for the signalum, you've got to be able to melt down the redstone. Later on, once you've got Ender IO machines, you don't need to do that, because you can use the 3-part alloying in the alloy smeltery to alloy all these things together without that. But to get to that point, you have to actually make these fluids in order to make the components for the machine chassis. The next step beyond that is actually finally getting to Mine Factory Reloaded. So it's quite a ways down the progression. And you might think, well, here's the machine block. And so let's look at the machine block. Well, it's just stone and plastic. What could be easier? Well, let's look at the plastic for a minute. And then I'm going to come back to this and see that it's almost irrelevant. The plastic has a very different recipe here. It's not just making sheets from plastic that you make from resmelting rubber like it is in the normal default recipes from MFR. Here you've got to have this raw plastic, which is made that way, I think. Yeah. You've got to have compressed sawdust, which is thermal expansion from pulverized wood or a byproduct from the sawmill. And then you've got to have rocket fuel. Rocket fuel is made from Ender.io, and you've got to have 2 vats to do it, and so you've got to actually have Ender.io up and running to even think about making plastic for Mine Factory Reloaded. But let's go back to this machine block, because even though the recipe for the factory machine block, once you've done that, seems very simple, the problem is it's not used in the machines that you're interested in. The machines that you're interested in are things like, let's say, the harvester, which harvests things on an automated farm, and you'll notice that it doesn't use the factory machine block. Instead, it uses this machine chassis for Ender.io in the middle, so you've got to have the ability to make these. It uses the dark axe, which is made from dark iron, or is it dark steel? Something like that. It's an alloy that you've got to have the alloy furnace from Ender.io to make. And then it uses this Z-Logic controller that's made in a slice and splice. So you have to have Ender.io first before making any of the Mine Factory Reloaded machines. Just trying to cover some bases there to let you know what's going on with it. So in order to make the crushed obsidian, that is made in the Railcraft Crusher. I think it's actually called like a stone crusher? A rock crusher. Okay. And that's a whole bunch of pistons, a whole bunch of diamonds, and a block of steel in the middle. It just so happens I'm going to need 12 of these blocks. The recipe makes 4. It just so happens I have all the components in my inventory. What an amazing coincidence. So let's go ahead and make that. So there's 12 of those. As it says on the tooltip, it's a 3 by 2 by 2 structure, which actually means you lay it out like this. And it will form. And be careful near this machine. The top of it sort of is a hole. It will kill any mobs that fall into it. This machine bites me every time I walk too close. If I get on a corner, it's gonna... well, maybe it's not going to this time. It never does it when you want it to, but anything that falls in the top is destroyed. So if you want to dismantle this machine, remove all of your stuff on the top first, because or don't remove the stuff on the top first. Break the block first so that the machine stops functioning. That way you can break the stuff on top without everything falling in and being destroyed. So we're going to have to hook up some power to this. And let's see, I do have a connector, but I seem to be out of the wires. So let's get a treated stick there, and a bunch of copper. And make some low voltage wire coils. Then I'll plop one of these on top of here and hook it up to power, just like that, and it starts filling with power. Alright, you can use this. It's got a bunch of different recipes. The one we're interested in actually is this very first one, crushing obsidian to get crushed obsidian and obsidian dust. You can also recrush the crushed obsidian to get more obsidian dust. This is actually a terrible choice because the obsidian dust, I think, is ore dictionaried with the thermal expansion, but thermal expansion gives you 2 obsidian dust for, or gives you 4 obsidian dust for 1 obsidian, not 1 for sure and a 25% chance on 2 more, plus 2 levels of processing. Some of these are recycling recipes. If you had spare blast furnace brick, you can break it down into these materials. One that is of some interest maybe is you can crush cobblestone to get gravel. This is not the machine I would prefer to use to do that. It does generate flint as a side effect, which might actually be a little bit useful. So it could be used to supply these machines over here with gravel, but I don't think I'm going to. I would rather use thermal expansion machines for that, and actually one of the X-Astris machines is really good for that purpose. Okay, so let's just get 8 of these and pop them in there. And so this thing is going to go, it's going pretty fast because it's got lots of power. It's a very noisy machine. So the next thing to do is I want to look at the other components for this machine casing over here, whatever it's called, machine frame. I need dense refined iron plate that is 9 steel plate or refined iron plate in a compressor. And of course those plates are actually made in the rolling machine or metal former as it's called. I actually have a lot of steel over here. Let's just grab half a stack of it and toss it in here. We do want it on rolling, and I'll put that in there. And it's going to make the refined iron plate, I believe. There we go. So as soon as this gets 9 of them, I can put them in the compressor and start that process. One of the things I did set up here is I really just have a ton of wood, and so I wanted to go ahead and make some of it into charcoal. One thing I should probably do here is I've eliminated enough wood that I can, if I can remember how to do it. Do I need to have an empty hand? There we go. I'm going to remove this upgrade. And put it over here on the one that's collecting apples, because I have completely filled a storage drawer with apples. And getting close to filling this chest too. A lot of the small chests are going to start disappearing pretty soon. Since I got the metal former working, I can now make the plates that are needed to upgrade the chests into iron chests and gold chests reasonably cheaply. So I'll be working on that. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to need, I already have some iron chipsets up there. I think I have some tin gears sitting here. But I know I don't have any basic circuit boards. Basic circuit boards are made in the Carpenter, 6 redstone, 1 tin ingot. Let's make a few of those. Alright, so this is making its stuff this finished. I'll just leave that obsidian dust in there for now. I'm going to have to supply some more water for this to finish making, so come over here and get some. Alright. So 16 so far. 9 of them in there. There's our dense refined iron plate. Let me make another one while I'm here and I have the materials. Alright. And if I pick 2 of these iron chipsets, then I should definitely have enough materials to make 2 of the machine frame from thermal expansion. It requires 400,000 RF to make this thing, so it's not going to be fast. But we can see that it's moving right along there. It's pulling in 80 RF per tick, which is a pretty good clip. I did set up at some point a third engine here. I have not had it on full time, but I'll go ahead and turn it on now, just to make sure that we have enough power going through here to at least have it functioning on most of the stuff that I need to get done. Oh, I can't do that right now. I had a hopper attached to the fermenter earlier where it's making the fuel, and that was just to keep it full. And I guess I don't really need it at the moment, but I was going to fill it up. Oh well. So, in between episodes, what I actually have planned is I'm going to break down most of the stuff you see in the middle, including all of these generators, and I'm going to move this stuff and set up a real automated ore processing and production system down on this platform in this area right here. This is not going to be the permanent location for it. The permanent location is going to be somewhere else, but for now I don't have the platform built that I'm going to put it on, so I'm just going to put it here where it will be out of the way and I will be able to fully automate it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'll move this over into the center between right about here. Now on this side I'll set up some thermal expansion machines so that I can start doing thermal expansion processing. Once I've got that done, I'm probably going to start with logistics pipes, and so the next episode will probably be a logistics pipes episode. I will get some supplies ready so that I'll have everything I need to actually start making a real system that starts to automate some of this stuff. And the main thing I'm going to be automating are these farms over here, getting everything to storage, and I will also do some automation on the metal production that'll be down there. And everything's going to go up here where it's going to be put into storage. I'm going to have a big bank of storage drawers in the front along here with the controller somewhere in the middle where this hole is. And then all of this area behind here I mostly anticipate will be devoted to automating crafting from logistics pipes. This is going to be the area where everything sort of gets made, and then if I need something I can come up here and get it out of the storage drawers. I'll probably put some crafting tables and stuff up here. I might over the long run move the machines that I'm currently planning on having down here up there. I'll just have to see how that works out. A lot of the things that I might eventually request from a machine will be requestable through the crafting system rather than going and manually making it. So I won't necessarily use these machines all that much, just for occasional things. And if that really is the case, then running up or down some stairs to get it is not that big of a problem. It's just if I have to do that all the time. So let's see how the lasers are coming along over there. It looks like they're still working, but they might be working on the second one. Looks like we are getting more animals. I see 4 little piggies. So it has finished one. Now to make the rest of a thermal expansion machine, and let's just look at the pulverizer as an example, I'm going to need, this is just the default recipe for it, so it uses the frame, a piston, a couple of flint, some copper gears, and redstone reception coil. So I'm not even going to make that right now. I'll make it between episodes. We've all seen one of these before, and I don't have anywhere to put it right now. So that's going to be one of the machines that I definitely use in the ore production, because I'll use pulverizers to make my gravel and sand and dust. Some of the other machines that I'll definitely be making pretty quickly, funky locomotion, frame push. I haven't seen this before. I don't really know what that is. That one will not be one of them. Redstone furnace, I will definitely be making one or two of those that will actually go up here, because I'm going to put charcoal production up here so that I can generate charcoal for a boiler. Let's see what else. Pulverizer, sawmill. I will probably have a sawmill to save on wood. Right now we're only getting 2 planks per log. This will give 6 planks per log plus a chance at sawdust, and I will need sawdust for a variety of purposes. Induction smelter, you gotta have this one to progress, so I'll definitely be making some of those. Magma crucible, again, you gotta have it to progress. Fluid transposer, you may not absolutely have to have it to progress, but I will have one, at least one. In particular, I'll probably have one that's automated that specifically fills things with redstone, because a lot of the recipes in here involve redstone, and it's for things like power conduits and stuff like that. Glacial precipitator, if I do some Thaumcraft, which I probably will, I'll need one of these, because you have to have a way to make ice. Igneous extruder. Actually, there is another way to make ice that's more the magic path, but I'm not going to do that. Probably won't do the igneous extruder. Its main use is to make cobblestone, and there are better ways to do that. Aqueous accumulator, again, there are better ways to make water. I don't know if I'll need the cyclic assembler or not. Normally I'll just use the crafting tables that come with logistics pipes, but the cyclic assembler does have the advantage it can be used to craft with liquids, so that's a little convenient. Energetic infuser, probably not. Phytogenic insulator. A compact farm that requires a ton of power, might do that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end the episode, since I'm just sort of rambling here about future plans. But in the next episode, plan to see some actual logistics pipes after I do show and tell on some new machine setup. And I will see you then. Thanks for watching.